libsoft 2020 includes a module to assist with the identification of peaks in acquired spectra. This module is only available in libsoft full, and the corresponding USB key is required to activate and utilize its functions. The peak identification or peak ID module includes several useful tools to assist the user in the identification of the peaks in a spectrum. The module provides the ability to automatically detect, mark and label peaks in spectrum. It also allows the emission lines from the NIST atomic emission database to be overlaid on the spectrum to help in the identification of the spectrum peaks. Finally, it enables the user to compare the spectrum under analysis to save spectra, including those in a database of spectra installed with libsoft, which were acquired from a range of high purity samples. The peak identification module can be opened from the main libsoft application screen by selecting this shortcut button. This causes the Peak ID module main screen to be opened and maximized in front of the main libsoft application screen, which remains open in the background. The Peak ID module can be closed at any time to return to the main libsoft application screen by left-clicking on the X in the top right-hand corner of the screen. Any data currently loaded in the Peak ID module will, however, be retained in this instance and will be redisplayed if the module is reopened, provided that the main libsoft application has not been closed in the meantime. At the top of the Peak ID main screen there is a toolbar. This provides shortcut buttons to access various functions and the Peak ID configuration screen. The main region of the screen is the spectrum display area. The shortcut buttons in the toolbar are, from left to right, as follows. Load Save Spectra. Select and display spectra previously acquired using libsoft. Compare Spectra. Select Save Spectra for comparison with the analysis spectrum. Clear Comparison Spectra. Clear spectra loaded for comparison, leaving just the spectrum for analysis. Clear all spectra. Clear the analysis spectrum and spectra loaded for comparison. Open Peak ID configuration. This displays the screen used to configure the Peak ID parameters. Display database lines. Display lines corresponding to the database emission lines for the atoms and ions currently selected on the Peak ID configuration screen. Find peaks. Identify and mark peaks above the threshold intensity in the currently displayed wavelength range. Identify peaks. Identify the peaks marked in the currently displayed wavelength range. Clear peaks. Clear all peak markers and identifications in the currently displayed wavelength range.